Don't overwhelm yourself. Starting a garden is easier than you think. Coming up on the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener.
Welcome to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener. I'm Joey Baird. This show is dedicated to the average gardener, simple home living, and using what you already have. Well, we're going to talk about how to start a garden. Whether you started one before in the past or this spring is going to be your first time, I'm going to talk about some of the things you need to consider when starting your first garden. First off is where are you going to place your garden at? Front of the house or back of the house? Depending on where you live, you'll want to call your city hall because some municipalities will only allow you to have a garden in the back of the house. Second is location. As you can see here, we're going to have our garden. We're going to start a 200 square foot garden here, and it's in the front of the house, which is okay in our municipality. But what you want to consider is light. You want to look for an area that has anywhere from 6 to 8 hours of sunlight, direct sunlight. Now, let's be real, not all of us have that option. We have trees, we have shade, we have fencing, other things that's going to inhibit that's 8 hours of light. So there are plants that can dictate that 3 to 6 hour light range as well. So you just have to look at what you're wanting to plant also. But right here, you want to mark off where you want your garden to be. So that's what we're going to do right now. As you can see, we've marked our garden with 4 posts. And we're just using what we already have, old extension ones from a vacuum, and in the back there we've got a couple old broom handles. Now the reason why we're marking this is for 2 reasons really. One, so we know where our garden dimensions are going to be, and 2, we have to call Digger's Hotline. They'll come out within 24 and 72 hours to mark whether or not there's any electrical lines, water lines, or anything underneath where you're going to dig, so you don't get hefty fines, and that's not a requirement, that's the law, you have to call them. So you can search engine that number, or you can call your local city hall and they can send you to give you the number for that extension. So we've got our area marked here. Now the other thing you want to look at when you're going to plant a garden is the ground level. You don't want to have a garden in a bowl shape in the backyard. Here, as you can see, it kind of slopes towards the road a little bit, so you have good water drainage. We do have a little hump or a little ditch there, but I think overall, once we get the soil turned over and get the garden going, it'll be okay. So on the back side, what's going to be the new garden. Now there's 2 things you can do when we talk about flipping your garden over. We're in the fall of the year now, and you can either turn the soil over now or wait till spring. And when turning the soil over, you have 2 options. One, you can just get in there with a shovel and spade it over in the fall and let flip the green grass upside down, let it compost underneath the soil, or you can wait until the spring and do it. Now, you can also remove this top layer of sod with a flat shovel. Now that gives you another issue to deal with, what to do with that sod. You'll have to either put it in a compost bin or dispose of it somehow. What we'll do is, since it's a little late in the fall now, we'll come in this spring, mark the area here, call Digger's Hotline. We'll just go ahead and spade this under, and then we'll work some peat moss and some compost in, check the pH levels in the soil, and start from there. When it comes to picking your location for your garden, once you've established front yard or back by the city that you live in, we want to talk about what's surrounding the garden. More ideally, blockage, wind blockage that is, because you want to protect your tomato plants, your zucchini, whatever you're growing. You don't want to have an open 40-acre field. Now if that's all you have, that's all you have, but you either have a house or a fence or trees to kind of protect the plants from when them big storms come in. So you want to keep that in mind as well when considering a location for placing your garden.
When you're ready to put the garden in, you have to consider what you're going to plant. If you're planting in a small area, you probably don't want to choose things like pumpkins, cucumbers, really viney plants like that. You can use cucumbers, you can use a bush variety, that's a newer variety, or you could trellis your cucumbers if you're in a tight space situation. You obviously want to consider what you eat. If you don't eat green beans and you have no use for them, then don't grow them. If you eat a lot of tomatoes, then obviously you're going to want to put a lot of tomatoes in there. You grow the garden because it's healthier than what you can buy in the store. Just keep that in mind. Also think about maybe what you might want to put out for the winter if you're into canning. These are all good ideas for how you're going to decide what you're going to put in your garden.
When considering putting a garden in, you don't want to make it too big or too much for you to handle. start off small. 200 square feet is a good area to start off with. At the garden we have 1,700 square feet, and we initially started with about 1,000 square feet and gradually worked your way up. You don't want something that's too big, too overwhelming that you're going to get burnt out on or be disappointed with your efforts halfway through the season. Gourds have been used for many things throughout the years, from water jugs to canteens to even currency in the government of Haiti. The early 1800s, they took and mandated all gourds to the government, and they made it in currency. Well, typically we buy our gourds now or we grow them. Now, if you have a gourd like this as we've grown, it's a dipper gourd, and you want to save the seeds for next year's planting, there's a simple way of doing that without cutting the top off or destroying your gourd. Simply take, and what we've done is cut a 1/2 inch square in the bottom. Now, typically you wouldn't draw on your gourd like we have, but this is just to show you where that cut is indicated. So take your knife and cut that square, and then it'll pop out. And all you do is you'll take a tooth or a chopstick, long screwdriver, or a broken antenna works quite well too. Get up there and break all the seed pods loose to get your seeds out. Now I got this tray here that we're going to catch the seeds in. And as you see, there's quite a few seeds in one of these gourds. And that looks to be pretty good. Now, when you're done with that, just take your the piece that you cut out, put it back in the same way you cut it out. There we go, just like that. And there you go. You haven't destroyed the integrity of the gourd. You can use it for next year's fall decoration or for whatever you use a gourd for, whether it's a birdhouse or watering can, canteen. Just a simple way of saving seeds out of your gourd without tearing the gourd up. There's more uses to a broken window blind than you might think. The next time your window blind breaks, don't throw it out. There's many uses. One of them is simple row markers for your garden. There's no sense of going to buy expensive ones when you can simply make your own. Just take the window blind and cut it to the length you want at an angle so it can pierce the ground. Write on it with a permanent marker, and there you have it. A simple, inexpensive, and recyclable way to know what you're growing in your garden. Growing your own pear trees from seed can save you money in the long run. Now, it's very simple to do, but it does take time. So all you want to do is you want to take the pears that you've harvested from your tree or a friend's tree, cut it down the center, bust it open to get the seed pods. Be sure you don't cut the seeds. And you've got seed pods. Now you want to take the seeds and you want to just put them on a paper towel right now. And you want to take and cut more seeds out than what you're going to need, because when you start these trees, there are going to be trees that are going to not make it. So 20, 30, 40 seeds, however many seeds you're interested in starting is fine. So what you want to do is now start them in the spring so you can get saplings. Now you see in the seed catalogs that you can buy pear trees, a couple feet tall for quite a bit of money. But this is just going to take a little bit longer, and you know what kind of tree you've got, you know the offspring of them. And a typical pear tree will take 5 to 7 years to produce fruit. So it does take time, but it's much more rewarding when you started the plant from seeds and grown and watched it grow. And you can expand your orchard or create one by saving your own seeds. Now, after you've collected the seeds out of the pears that you want to take and rinse them off, place them on another paper towel, let them air dry for a couple of days. Place them in an envelope, and place that envelope in a glass jar, and place that jar in the back of the refrigerator for a couple of months, typically 2 to 3 months. Now, on that envelope, you want to write down the kind of pears you had, if you know what the variety is, and the date you put them in the fridge. And then come next spring, you can start your pear seeds, and they'll start off as little green sprouts, like a typical plant. But you can watch them grow and nurse them up to trees that you can plant in your yard to produce fruit. When in the garden, you may not always have access to the information you want online. A simple solution, create a notebook. When we're online and looking at garden information and see something that's very interesting or helpful for us when we're in the garden, we'll print it out and put it in a plastic sleeve and slide it in a notebook. We've got a listing of all our seeds and times that we should plant them. Other information, a seed saving guide, the time, the growing zone, and the frost dates. In the back we have flyers provided by our local home and garden center about compost, tomatoes, fertilizer. Just information that you could use and be beneficial to you while in the garden. Well, that's all the time we have. I hope you enjoyed the show as much as we enjoyed bringing it to you. And as you can tell, it's not that difficult to start a garden, no matter how big or how small you want it to be. And those window blinds as row markers, that's a recyclable, creative ideal. And always keep a notebook on what you do in the garden. Well, for all of us at the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener, I'm Joy Baird, reminding you to take a child gardening and begin to grow some memories.
The show doesn't have to end here. Go to our Facebook page and like it, Wisconsin Vegetable Gardeners, and continue the discussion there. You can also email us with your comments, suggestions, or questions about the show at thewiveggardener@gmail.com, and we may use your question on an upcoming show.